This is TWiT.
Twitter's going back and forth. Among other things, they haven't decided how they're going to make money. That's really the problem. When they grow up, what are they going to do? Now they're saying maybe, and this was somebody discovered this. This isn't something Twitter said. What if we let you undo tweets if you paid? Would you pay to have an undoable tweet?
Oh, it gives you like a little bit of time before it goes live? Is that what it is?
Yeah, we've known about this for a while. We've seen this progress bar. Mm-hmm. Here, this is from a researcher, Jane Manchun Wong. Here's the progress bar. So you see, you can undo it for that period of time. That seems kind of odd because, I mean, it's kind of like Gmail does, right? It just doesn't post the tweet for that period of time. That's not a lot.
Usually, it's not that much time before you figure out you did something that you shouldn't have done.
Okay, I just
know.
have a tip for you. Keep your finger off the mouse button until you're sure you got the right tweet.
Who does that?
Yeah,
No one
let's
does.
just say it. Some people shouldn't be tweeting. Some people should have their phones taken away from them. And just don't. If you're feeling upset, these are the rules. It's like dealing with a dangerous animal. You don't tweet, you don't talk, you don't call, you don't write. If you're feeling angry, upset, frustrated, or sad, if you're drinking, just stay away from technology.
So in this case, you're the dangerous animal that you're trying to stay away from.
Yes. Yes, it's your limbic system. It's your primal part of your brain. It's going to send something horrific. Right?
Georgia, you know that I love you. That last statement you just said, as someone who makes a statement who is a happy and healthy relationship, the fact that you think that someone can think and focus, you know how many drunk people have been upset and went back to their ex? You think people can do that? I don't think so, Georgia. You've been happy.
Is drunk tweeting better or worse than drunk dialing?
It's going to work for anybody.
It is worse because it's there.
It lives
forever.
forever.
No, it's there forever.
It lives forever.
Don't do it because we're not trained from young. Let's say it. Because we used to be able to call someone up on the phone, blah, 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 and then they'll forget. But you tweet it out, it is there, stamped forever. That will haunt you 20 years from now.
So here's a perfect example.
Don't do it.
Alexi Mccammond. She had just been nominated to be the editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue. Really prime job, right? She's a young woman, African-American. She had tweeted as a teenager. She had tweeted a couple of things interpreted as racist, for which, by the way, she'd apologized already. But when this came up, somebody brought it up. She resigned. She said, all right, I'm going to voluntarily leave because it would be difficult for Condé Nast and the folks at Teen Vogue. I'll read you the tweets. I mean, there's certainly not anything to be proud of. But remember, she did this as a teenager. Right?
I've done a lot of stupid stuff when I was a teenager. Lots of dumb stuff.
She's in high school. Let me see if I can find it. She's in high school, and in one case, let me see if I can find him. Because
the worst part is that, like, if she had committed a crime, it would be wiped, right?
Right.
But we don't have any rules for that. Thank God I didn't have, the internet and I was, not live streaming my life. It would be horrific. I would be mortified. So I don't know. I think that we have a right to be forgotten. And I especially think that for people that are under the age, before your brain is fully cooked, which is 24, your prefrontal cortex is the part that deals with consequences to actions is not fully developed until about 24. So we're going to do all kinds of horrific things. And let's just say it, with hormones, we become a little bit less intelligent when we're going through our teen years.
Oh, yeah.
And it's out there forever.
I was a complete idiot when I was a teenager. I think back about things I thought was a good idea at the time. I'll just do this and that'll be fine. And then I think back and I'm like, who thinks that's a good idea? Why? What's wrong with mine?
Here's the three tweets. And remember, now she's in high school. Gave me a 2 out of 10 on my chem problem. Cross out all my work and don't explain what I did wrong. Thanks a lot, stupid Asian TA. And then she says, outdone by Asian. Now Googling how not to wake up with swollen Asian eyes. Okay, they're racist.
Oh, yeah, those are.
They're racist. Especially now we're very sensitive about racism against Asian Americans. Mm-hmm. However, it was 10 years ago. She was in high school, obviously. I don't know. What is the statute of limitations on tweets? I guess it's
I think
forever.
There's a Beastie Boys documentary that's on Apple TV Plus, whatever they're calling it now. And they talk to one of the guys and they say, you used to be these hard, it was all about partying and you had the song Girls and whatever. And now you're doing this other thing. And he's like, well, I'd rather grow as a person than just sort of be stuck, just in amber as this like, loud, obnoxious party person. And I think people, they grow 10 years from when I was 18 till I was 21. There's this huge growth. And it doesn't, those tweets are horrible and she should be ashamed of them. But
she apologized 2 years ago before this job. She deleted the tweets. This is a tough one.
It's just tough when it's tough because you're a teenager. Like if she was 21 and she had done that, I'm like, well, no. But you're such an idiot when you're a teenager. It's tough to, and that's where, education doesn't teach you. When I was in school, they didn't teach us about finance. So we all screwed up on that. And now they're not really teaching, other than bullying. I don't think they really teach kids about what happens with social media, because their parents might not get it because they're like, well, I'm not going to use Facebook or I'm not using Twitter. So they're not getting the information from school. They're not getting it from their parents. And so they're just like, oh, I'll just put this thing out there. Twitter isn't real, which is, this thing that people have been saying forever, which is untrue. And then it comes back to haunt them.
Owen, what do you think?
So everybody knows, I talk about it a million times. I have a teenager. There have been kids at her school that have gone on Instagram, Snapchat, and said vulgar things about black kids, Asian kids. And next thing you know, they're getting threatened by other kids to get beat up. They get suspended from school. Bad things happen. The only line I draw between that kind of language is, comedians saying stuff because they're trying to be funny and hyperbolic, and regular people, because even as a kid, not for nothing, she's black, right? I think she's black.
Yeah, she's black.
So she should know better growing up in a household about racism and how cruel it is to make fun of people. Telling me how old she is does not matter to me. If she's old enough to have a phone and a device and make comments, then she, as an African-American woman, should definitely know not to talk about somebody else's race. So I don't have a sympathy for the 12, 15, whatever, because I have a teenage daughter, and Lord knows we talk about a lot of stuff, and maybe I'm raising my kid a little bit better, but there's a difference between your ideology and what you think. And just because you thought that at 10 doesn't mean you're not going to think that at 20. I believe that racism kind of carries on. That's why we got to wait for it to age out, because racism back in the 70s hasn't just changed his mind in the last 10 years because the rest of the world's woke. He grew up with it. He stayed with it, and it hasn't changed. Now you get caught and you apologize because you want to keep a cushy job, but I'm not just going to expel the fact that you as a black woman were making fun of another person because of their race. I'm just out on that. I mean, if she's got to change her name, whatever she's got to do, cool.
Well, she'll be. This is gonna haunt her the rest of her life. Does it change anything, Owen, that she has to give up her opportunity to be a black editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue?
I believe in redemption. I believe in forgiveness, and whatever past she has to do.
She apologized. She says there's no excuse. I am so sorry.
And hopefully she makes a way in her life to make a change in that. But she's also choosing a career where she's in the public eye. She's working for other companies and businesses that have to have relationships with other people. So that's a problem for her. I understand that people make mistakes. I understand that people can change and they should have an opportunity to change. But at the same time, I'm not going to cry for her because she lost her opportunity because of a mistake that she made when she was a child, which again, in her specific circumstance, she should know better. Yeah. Again, that's just me, and that's a different form of opinion. But hopefully she finds another way in life. There's other jobs in the world. She go and have a very successful, happy, healthy life. Maybe she changed her name. Maybe she moves to Europe. I don't know what she does, but I'm not boo-hooing for her.
Is it the parents' fault, maybe, Georgia?
Usually it's a whole bunch of reasons. I mean, it's not just the parents. It's also the culture that you've grown up in, right? Like, there's just so many pieces to this. It's really messy. But the thing is that if she had robbed a bank, it would have been expunged, right? If at this age she had done some sort of a crime, we would not know about it, and she would have been absolved from this.
That's because the legal system understands that things you do as a teenager shouldn't haunt you for life.
But now it is, right? Social media has created a format where, everything is going to follow you. And let's just say it, like, if everything that I ever said was like taped and sent out, and all the stupid things that I've done were taped and sent out to the world, none of us would be able to do anything, right? Like, we all make mistakes. We all do stupid things. And I just think that we can sometimes grab our pitchforks and torches so quickly and come out to kind of scorch the earth, and everyone has to be perfect. And I think that if people have made okay, I'm a therapist. So if you've made conscious actions to change and be a better person and try to do better, I think that we should be judging people on who they are today, not who they were a decade ago. And I think that that makes a huge difference. If not, we're stuck being painted in a platform that we are no longer that person. And I don't think that that is fair either.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think my bottom line is Twitter never did anything good for anybody. Get off the Twitter. Get off the Twitter.
I got my jobs. I've gotten jobs because of Twitter.
Oh, you have? All right, I take it back.
Yes, I think I went from Mac Live to Gizmodo and to Wired
because you wrote good tweets.
No, because people knew me more so, and you interact with interact with other journalists.
Oh, that's a good point.
And so that sort of helped me,
I still know people by their Twitter.
But I'm
handle,
horrible at Twitter.
Yeah.
My tweets are just ridiculous.
It's such a recipe for getting in trouble. That's just all. I mean, it's just.
That's the thing with social media, right? It can really only be used against you. Like, sometimes it's beneficial, but
nobody brings up
that's where
all
it goes
the great tweets I said years ago. Nobody brings those up.
No, it's unfortunate that we're very reactive right now, and I think that's good in some parts and bad in some other parts.
I've always said, and I can't take credit. Somebody said this, and I just remembered it, that the problem with Twitter is it feels like it's hanging out around the water cooler where you say stuff and it disappears, but in fact, it's a mismatch because in fact it lasts forever, as we can see. And so even though you feel like it's just offhand comments, they're far from it. It's like something you wrote in a book and published and put in a library so that anybody can find it forever. So that's the problem.
What did Roberto say in 2012? Hold on.
Let's see what we can find against him. I bet there's some.
And also,
they're just bad jokes. That's my and pictures
just
of
in
cats.
general. Like, I've said outlandish things on many a show, podcast, tweet, whatever. And I usually say it's a FYIA thing, F you in advance, because I know I'm going to say something outlandish. And I don't mean it. Whenever I know I'm going to talk crazy, I always say this is an FYIA podcast, this is an FYIA tweet, just so people know, so they can go back and look what FYIA means. But with my daughter, she's had a phone since she was 5 years old. And basically, again, because I take the time, and like you said earlier, a lot of parents don't know better, but I progressed her along the lines of, this is how you do this is how you do that. And I slowly weaned her on to different things. Here, you got to post on Instagram every day so I can show her what to do, how to do it. And Twitter, now she's on Twitter going crazy, but she has the benefit of me guiding her along as opposed to some of her friends, and these kids are just saying stuff, and I'm like, yo, you plan on getting a job? Like, I can say whatever I want. I work for myself. If I want to not work tomorrow, I could go do whatever I want.
You could get a face tattoo and you'd be just as employable as ever.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you got to know where you're at, and a lot of athletes have to deal with this. Getting drafted at certain times.
Very tough.
I feel bad for the white kid that's just singing rap songs. Like, he grew up with athletes. They're rapping songs. He didn't mean it that way. And I can read his text and know he didn't mean it that way.
Right.
But since he used the word, everybody just goes, oh, well, see, So people don't even take context in anymore. So it is very rough and hard to figure out. But I mean, the parents got to do better. The kids got to do better. That's what
it's hard with media literacy, right? Like, that's the thing, is that media literacy is not taught. Like, Renee and I were hired to do a talk to actually, for one of the states, for all of the, leaders in the state to be able to talk about media savvy and how it works, and, what are all the tricks that kind of comes out of trying to divide us and make us into different tribes, and why, how they want to try to make us feel emotional, make us feel angry so that we don't leave. which I thought was really awesome because they cared enough to be able to teach all of the leaders that are in the state in order to help them keep their constituents as media savvy as possible. But this isn't a class, right? Like, we're not taught this. So a lot of parents have no clue. They don't even know their kids are on social media. They don't know anything about it. And they're not taught in the schools, right? We go back to not learning finance, not learning, mental health issues. Like, I'm sorry, we can Google geography very efficiently, but this kind of stuff could change your life.